Coming up on today's Louisville Real Estate Show on 840 WHAS, what happens if you start a new job? Can you get a mortgage? Also, what happens if the home you're renting is going into foreclosure and the owner of the home just called to tell you it's time to pack up and get out? And we've got the 10 dirtiest places in your home that are out there. I was shocked by this. Hi, everybody. Bob Sokoler, owner of the Sokoler team at Remax Properties East. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday morning. Hopefully, you'll stay warm because it's been a rough week. I know that. And hopefully our guys who are with us this morning will be able to stay warm. With us, Chuck Crosby, the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. You can reach Chuck for real estate closings, power of attorney, foreclosure defense, commissioner sales, and the like. You can reach Chuck at 499-6360. Also here, we've got Steve Phillips, who's in for the vacationing Randy Rocky over at Swan Financial. They shop the loan to get you the very best rate, and they do a good job at it as well. And you can reach Randy and his team at 645-0736. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I would love to be able to help you, whether it's to buy a home or sell a home. I've got a team of agents that will help with finding you the right house to buy. But as a seller, I am here for you. And we come out. There's free, no obligation analysis. I'll spend as much time as you want. There's no home too big, no home too small. And I work, as you already don't know, both in southern Indiana and the Louisville surrounding areas. You can reach me on my cell phone anytime, 376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form, and hit submit. I'll give you a buzz back. And then if you want a free instant analysis of what your home is worth, go to wesellouisville.com and click at the top of the page. All right, gentlemen, we've got a number of questions that have come in. And let's start with this one for Chuck Crosby over at the Crosby Law Office. Noble wrote this and said, I sold a property. And Steve, you may want to jump in on this as well. I sold a property about a week ago. A mortgage company is now threatening me and saying they had given the title company the wrong payoff amount to the tune of about $8,000. And now the mortgage company is telling them he's going to have to pay it back. Noble has to pay it back. He says the closing date never changed and they were on track all the time. Is there any way this is legit and this could actually happen? So, Chuck, let's start with you.
Is it legit? Let's start with that.
Okay.
Have no clue. After you sell property, buy property, you get inundated with all kinds of notices from the mortgage company, or they're implying they're with the mortgage company, insurance company. It's crazy. It's crazy how much you get. So is it legit? I don't know. We'd have to call and verify that. The thing is, can it happen? Absolutely. A bank make a mistake? Oh, my God, I can't imagine. Sarcasm there. Yeah, they can make that mistake. The thing is, from the buyer's side, that's why you get title insurance. Banks make that mistake, okay? Title insurance protects the buyer. Now, the seller, they're in a little bit of a different category here. They promised to pay the money back, period. Okay, just because the lender says, makes a mistake, they can call it typo, whatever. The amount of money owed by the seller to his bank doesn't change. They can still come after him for that money. That's why you want to make sure we're talking about a legit organization. Mm-hmm. Now, they certainly have all kinds of arguments as to say, hey, wait a minute, what changed? Make them prove their position. But if I promise to pay you $100 and you make a mistake, well, it doesn't make the debt go away.
So what you're saying here is it could be legit.
It could be legit.
You need to contact.
It does happen.
I would suggest, and tell me if I'm right, call the closing attorney to
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Guarantee that closing attorney has already heard about it. Because when you send in a payoff on a mortgage, if it has happened where, in my case, it's never been as much as $8,000, but where they have quoted the wrong number. And they'll call back and they say, okay, great, we're just not going to release it. It's like, that's a problem. If it's a lot of money, it becomes a title insurance problem. In our case, if it's off a couple of bucks, I'll send them a couple of bucks, and then I'll shoot a letter to the seller and say, hey, guy, they gave us the wrong number. If the seller responds, great. If they don't, well, like I said, I haven't seen numbers quite that large before.
That large. Yeah, and just so you know, when Chuck says he shoot a couple of bucks, he's talking out of his own pocket to make things
that's
work,
exactly correct.
Which is why we love Chuck Crosby. Yeah.
Well, I say this, it's going to go out over the air, but it's kind of like marketing, right?
Yeah.
Why would I why would I want the seller and the buyer and all the agents to have a really bad experience? I think it's worth the $100 I think I've done before
Yeah.
to just make it, work.
Even though we should point out it would not have been the closing attorney's fault because,
Right,
admittedly,
right.
here this was the mortgage company's payoff number to the mortgage to Chuck or a closing
Yeah,
attorney.
and by
Yeah.
the way, that's
Yeah.
also another reason. Even if you're doing a cash deal, get title insurance. When doing a closing, before any lender will let us do a closing, we have to issue a closing protection letter, a CPL, and that CPL says, hey, if something like that happens, we're going to take care of it.
But
You
that
know,
protects the buyer, Chuck, right? We're not talking
the
about the
buyer
seller,
and the new mortgage company.
the new mortgage company, or if you're
Right,
paying cash, it just
right.
protects you as the buyer. But
Bingo.
yeah, we're not
But
talking about seller.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's not going to protect the seller. That goes back to the whole,
All right. Yeah.
hey, I agreed to pay you $100. You said 99. Nah, I still really do
Yeah.
owe you that extra
Yeah.
buck.
Yeah. All right. A reminder, if you hear something interesting on today's show and you want to revisit it, maybe to share it with a relative or a friend or spouse, you can do that. It's easy. Go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's one word, LouisvilleAnswers.com. It's a redirect to our YouTube channel, to one of our social media sites, where all these radio shows with video, yeah, you can see, not that it's anything worth seeing video, but yes, in person. Again, LouisvilleAnswers.com. And a reminder, if you would like to see what sellers and buyers are saying about our Sokoler team, we're really proud of our reviews. You can go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. That's where our reviews are. Over to Steve Phillipson for the vacationing Randy Rocky. Steve, Alderman says she's got a house on the market for sale. They got an offer, and the buyer had an FHA loan. The appraiser on that FHA loan said the house was actually worth less money than the contract price. That's a problem. It occurs on a regular basis. We see it. The appraiser says, we're not going to let the bank loan this amount of money because it's worth less in our mind. So she sent the buyer packing and then got another contract. This one is a buyer with a VA loan. And so Alderman is wondering, will the VA appraiser know anything about the FHA appraiser from 2 weeks ago that basically she sent packing?
So potentially, possibly, VA appraisers are FHA approved as well as such. So they're in the same location. So it's very possible, potentially, I guess, that the same appraiser could get the VA appraisal that just did the FHA appraisal 2 weeks ago. So potentially, yeah, that is a possibility. If it's a different appraiser, different company, then no, those two systems don't really communicate with each other. So there's no crossover.
So, and the chances, I think, of the same appraiser being pulled to do that appraisal, maybe 1 out of 1,000, maybe chance, right? Maybe.
Depends on the area, how many
Okay.
appraisers are in the area, but it has happened. I mean, I have
Yeah,
had
it has.
where one appraiser is messed up and come back and the same appraiser gets another messed up appraisal. So it has happened.
So we should point out while we're on this topic, if you have a house that's on the market and it's a FHA buyer and the appraisal comes in low, that appraisal will stay with the house for, is it 6 months, Steve?
6 months, yeah, it locks it in on this FHA system for that 6-month window.
So if another buyer comes along, folks, and it's also the buyer is using an FHA loan, then if it's within a 6-month period of the first buyer that had that FHA loan that came in low, the new FHA appraiser will know what the first one, and it stays with the house. And am I right when I say they will not loan more money? They're going to stay with the original appraisal that was done.
Yeah. They don't even send a second appraiser out there. It's the same appraisal all the way through that 6 months. So it locks it down.
And reminder, by the way, if you are thinking of selling your home, we have a free, no obligation booklet that has hundreds of useful tips. Send me an email, bob@WeSellLouisville.com. In the subject line, say selling my home or selling tips. And then I will send that out to you immediately. Again, bob@WeSellLouisville.com. We move on. Chuck Crosby Law Offices, Brianna. And we changed her name, by the way, and you'll see why in a moment. Brianna says her mom wants to gift her the family home. And in an attempt to reduce the amount of taxes Brianna will pay when her mom passes away, Brianna wants to state, or her mom state, that the value of the home is about $50,000. She thinks it's actually worth about at least $300,000. She's wondering the following. Chuck, is it possible? Will she get caught? Could she go to jail? What are the implications? Chuck Crosby.
The implications are, yeah, you can do it. You can do just about anything. Will you get caught? there's a good chance. There's a paper trail a mile wide. And will she go to jail? Well, that depends on whether or not they come after you. But I will say it's a Class D felony to lie on a deed about the actual value of the property. Everybody signs the deed. As a matter of fact, since 1992, I think it is. Buyers and sellers sign off on a deed, and the buyers are signing and joining with the sellers to certify either the actual amount being paid, if there's real money, or the fair market value of the property. So if they go on a deed and say, "Oh, it's $50,000," when she knows it's $300,000, it's technically a Class D felony. Will they come after you? No, maybe they could. PVA is going to look at it.
Yeah.
My thought is what normally happens, because you do see this. What normally happens is PVA is going to look at it, because that's why you're doing that, so that the property's taxed. PVA will look at it and go, "Yeah, no, that's whatever value," and then they'll up it all the way.
Chuck, help me here. Class D felony. What is that for us who are not? Yeah.
It's not good. You hear the word felony?
Yes, right. Yeah. Well, but it's D. It's a Class D. It could be a Class A.
ABCD. Yeah. It's bad. It's over a year in jail it's a felony.
All right. Enough said. All right. If you need a real estate agent to sell your home, I am ready. I want to raise my hand. You can go to LouisvilleAgent.com and fill out the form. Or you can go to LouisvilleHouseDoctors.com, fill out the form, hit submit. And yes, we make house calls, and there's a free, no obligation visit by me if you decide to do it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the 10 dirtiest places in your home, and you're never going to believe number 8. And I'm going to start at 10 and work my way back. This is an eye-opener. Staying with us, Chuck Crosby. He's the head guy over at the Crosby Law Offices. They do a great job at real estate closings. He dots his I's, crosses his T's, and then some. Also, he does wills and a variety of other things. 499-6360 is his number. Also, Steve Phillips, he's in for Randy Rocky, Swan Financial. They shop your loan to get you the very best rates, which is what you want when you are applying for a mortgage. You can reach Steve and Randy at 645-0736. If you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to help you. Give me a call for a free, no obligation visit. My direct cell, 376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form, hit submit for a free, no obligation estimate of what your home is worth via computer instantly. Go to WeSellLouisville.com and click on the top of the page. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, with you till the top of the hour. Thank you for staying with us. And our thanks to Barbara Corcoran for being a mentor and a friend. And you may have seen her on Shark Tank. She does one of the commercials for us, and we really do appreciate her mentorship. Staying with us till the top of the hour, Chuck Crosby, owner of the Crosby Law Offices. They do wills, but more importantly, real estate closings, and they do a great job. You can reach Chuck at 499-6360. Also here in for a vacationing Randy Rocky is Steve Phillips, who's over at Swan Financial. They shop the loan that you're going to need for your mortgage, and they do a great job giving you the very best rate, which is what you want. You can reach Steve and Randy at 645-0736. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to help you. Call me on my cell phone for a free, no obligation visit. It's me. I come out. We talk as long as you want, and I basically tell you what the state of the market is, what your home is worth, and if there are any things that you need to fix or stage, we can help you as well. It's all free, no obligation. You can reach me on my cell phone at 376-5483. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com and click on the submit button with the information. Or if you would like an instant analysis of what your home is worth, go to WeSellLouisville.com and click on the top of the page there of that website on your phone or on your cell phone or your browser on your computer, and give us the information, and we'll send that out to you immediately via computer. All right. I was shocked when I saw this, folks, the 10 dirtiest places in your home. We see this from time to time, but this one was a shocker. So number 10 on this list as we work our way back, and anybody who has a pet, a cat, a dog, yep, the pet bowl is a spoiled food. The dogs will eat it, but it contains, the pet bowl has plenty of germs. Though your dog won't get sick or your cat won't get sick, you may. So you may want to consider, though I will tell you, I don't think my wife, LaDonna, would allow me to put the dog bowls into the dishwasher and run them through. Now, I don't think she would. I haven't asked her. So, Jeannie, would you allow me to do that if you're listening to the show? Well, find that out. I'll let you know. I have a feeling the answer is no. The kitchen sink is number 9. Sees a lot of chicken, coffee grounds, food scraps. It's a hub of a lot of cooking activity, and the sink can get pretty gross. In fact, a study published in 2022 tested 10 Houston households for bacteria on the sink, drain, refrigerator handle, kitchen counter, and dish sponge. And of these locations, the sink drain had the greatest diversity of bacteria, including some foodborne pathogens. So be aware of that. Okay, so we move on to number 8. And this one, my lovely wife, Jeannie, this one is a shocker. Handbag handles. In fact, when I read this, I basically went over to her. I said, "Do you know what's on your hand?" And she's got a lot of handbags, but and she's about as clean of a person I've ever met in my life. But this report says that your purses go everywhere, the store, the office, and maybe even the public restroom. So it's not surprising that it picks up a lot of bacteria on its travels. And a study published in 2015, researchers tested 145 purses and found that 138 of them showed bacterial contamination. Their conclusion, purses are potential vectors for disease. Next, number 7, stove knobs. Chuck Crosby, you're the cook of our group, do a lot of cooking. The stove knobs contain a lot of junk.
I can see that.
Yeah. So, and just folks, think about this. As I'm going through this, make a mental note, and then today sometime, maybe you want to just take a disinfectant and clean this stuff. And number 6, your cell phone. We've seen and talked about this before, but it's a true item here. The cell phone contains lots of germs. A cutting board is another thing where you're accumulating a variety of bacteria. And according to a study, a microbiologist at the University of Arizona, there's 200 times more bacteria on the average cutting board than in other locations of the kitchen. Number 4 on the list is the toothbrush holder. Not necessarily the toothbrush, but the thing you're holding that holds your toothbrush. So think about cleaning that. Even though we clean our toothbrushes, we hope, right? The toothbrush holder. The coffee maker reservoir is number 3. So you want to think about maybe cleaning that up, maybe putting that in the dishwasher if you haven't put a dog bowl in it to clean. And there may be a major amount of bacteria in the coffee maker reservoir. Number 2 is the video game controller. If your kids are using that video game controller, where their hands may or may not have been. And then number 1 on the list is a kitchen sponge. Yep.
Oh, absolutely the worst.
Worst. So there's a variety of things you can do. I use, instead of sponges, those little sticks with the brushes on the. Yeah. So then I stick those on the dishwasher and run them through on a cycle.
Yeah. Well, you can also do that with a sponge, but a lot of those old sponges that our parents used to use, or we were when we were kids.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And we still survived.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell my kids, it's like I have absolutely no allergies because I grew up in a house that had cats and dogs and mice and roaches and, et cetera.
Yeah, no kidding.
All the things that cause allergies.
So those are some of the things that the 10 dirtiest places in the home. Hopefully that you found that informative. If you want to see some of the videos that we produce as our Sokoler team for sellers, buyers, and for you with content, go to Louisville Homes TV. That's Louisville Homes TV. Back to our questions. We're going back to Steve Phillips over at Swan Financial. Steve, Judy wrote us an email. She says she just moved to Louisville. Well, welcome, Judy. I think you're going to love this city and this area. And she wants to buy her first home, and she's wondering, can she get a mortgage if she just started a new job?
Yeah, well, there's facets to the answer, but overall, yes. If you're in the same line of work, the same industry, you're moving, you were doing this type of job there and you're doing the same type of job here, that time of employment from your previous employer certainly transfers over to that 2-year window that we need. If you're changing industries, you're going from flipping burgers to building bicycles. Sometimes that has a tendency of delaying the ability to use that new income because they want to make sure you're going to stay in that new industry. Maybe you don't like it, and it's a short-term employment. So they do want to see you usually in that for a 6-month window before we get to that new income.
What if I've got a contract? What if I'm like a teacher and I have a contract for X amount of time?
Perfect. Hey, if you're just getting out of school and you've got a new job, a teacher in this situation, yes, especially a contract, that gives it a lot more stability if it has, you're starting at this date, at this company, this position, this rate of pay, those types of things. If there's contingencies, you got to pass a drug screening or a background check. That can slow the ability for us to use that
makes sense.
That contract down. But if it's a salary position and there's no contingencies, then we get that full income from day one without any problem at all. So, depends upon the type of industry, whether you're switching it, if you're going to go from self-employment to W-2 or W-2 to self-employment, it's a whole different answer. But all in all, if you're in the same line of work or coming out of school and going into your chosen line, school career path, then you're not going to have any trouble at all.
Good. All right. That's great information to know. If you want to see and hear what sellers are saying about us, I do these videos at closing. You can go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. That's LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. Chuck Crosby, Crosby Law Offices. Tony's been renting a home for the past 4 years. He says the owner just called him to let him know the house is going into foreclosure. He needs to pack up and get out. He's wondering, is that even possible? He's got a lease that goes for another 4 months.
That is not how that works. Absolutely not. If he's going into foreclosure, i.e. it has not yet started or it just started, he's got, the quickest foreclosure I've seen in Kentucky, and it's about 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
The average is going to take a year and a half. So that lease doesn't go away just because you go into foreclosure. Now, if the foreclosure is completed, property is sold at the courthouse steps, and we have a new owner, well, there's federal regulations also that come into play here. I think it's like you have to give them a notice, and it has to give like 90 days to get out. I know I've gotten folks out of houses that have been foreclosed on before. Sometimes the guy doing the foreclosure will bring the tenants in and let them say, "Hey, guys, keep me in mind," so that it's not a surprise if the property sells at the courthouse steps. But the quick answer is absolutely not. That is not how that works. That lease stays in effect until such time as the court says otherwise.
Good. I'm glad we've got that straightened out. So that's good information, Chuck. Thank you. We go back over to Steve Phillips over at Swan Financial. Johnny is about to buy a home. In this email, he says he has more than enough money for the down payment and closing costs. And Johnny asks, what happens if he makes a big purchase before closing? In other words, if you wanted to buy a car or some furniture. He says, why would it create a problem for me? He says, I have the money. Steve.
Yeah, well, so what you're doing is adding a new debt, and now the underwriters are going to have to go in and recalculate your new debt to income ratio with that new debt involved. And sometimes that new debt is enough to make a difference on whether or not you're going to keep that approval. I had a homeowner, it's been a while, but they went out and bought a whole house full of furniture in anticipation of their brand new home. And before closing, we realized, well, now they've got all this debt, and this new debt pushed their debt ratio up. They didn't qualify for their new home. They had all the new furniture. They just bought it. They didn't have the ability to return it, but they had no house to put it in.
So, Steve, we've seen this question come before us before. Let's just take this example where this person bought this new furniture. If they return the furniture, is the damage already done? Can things be reversed so they can get the mortgage at this point?
Yeah, so if the company's going to take the furniture back, upon delivery, sometimes it's problematic. But as far as from the lender's perspective, if the debt is canceled, then yeah, they will look at it again. It's certainly going to at the least slow everything down exponentially, but overall, it can be overcome if the debt does get canceled in whatever way it does, paid it off or returned.
All right. So as we wrap up here, would you suggest then that if someone wants to buy furniture, go in, you can put a deposit down, you can maybe write it up, but just don't charge a credit card or take money out of a bank to pay for it before you get to the closing table? You say hi to Chuck, say hi to you, and you sign the paperwork. Then afterwards you could do it. Am I right?
I would even take it a step further and ask them not even to get their credit pulled. Sometimes that can have an impact up on the final numbers or the final approval, So it's best, we recommend them not to get credit pulled, don't do any big transactions, and, keep everything the same in regards to your debt to income threshold.
And there's another angle at that, Bob.
Yeah.
If they go and they commit themselves to that debt, don't have the credit pulled and all that, but they've committed themselves, there's actually a form in most packages that say, I have not incurred any new debt. Which again, it would be not a Class D felony, but a straight up felony to lie on that form. That's straight up mortgage fraud.
All right, so don't even commit. Don't go that far.
Don't commit. Yeah. I mean, just hold off. The furniture. There's going to be furniture available.
But I'm thinking if there's a sale and it's a great deal and you can get it now if you buy it before you walk out of the store. Listen, we've heard this before.
Yeah,
right?
I know, and I can't tell you how many. we deal with a lot of lenders,
Yeah.
and some lenders are really, really picky and double check everything, and make you swear that literally swear that you have incurred no new debt.
Mm-hmm.
And the form typically goes, if yes, stop the closing right now.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
there's another angle on this.
Yeah.
I've actually seen at least several folks who tried to get out of a deal. They decided they didn't want to buy the house, but they had no legal grounds to break the contract. Of course, getting financing is one of the contingencies, so they went out and bought a brand new fancy car to completely screw up their debt-to-income ratio. Problem A, you've got unclean hands here, so the sellers still could have come after them. But B, it didn't screw up the debt-to-income ratio enough. They were still able to get the loan.
Even with a car. All right.
Yeah.
We're out of time, folks. Our thanks to that voice, Chuck Crosby, the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. They do a great job of getting your loan closed at the closing table. They do wills and a variety of other things, including powers of attorney and foreclosure defense. Call Chuck and his group over at 499-6360. Steve Phillips, subbing in for Randy Rocky, who's on vacation over at Swan Financial. Did a great job, Steve. You can reach Steve. They shop your loan to get you the very best rate. You can reach Steve and Randy, 645-0736. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I would love to be able to talk to you, to help you, give you the information. It's free. There's no obligation. We can talk as long as you want. I'll come out. It's me. And we talk about what the process is, what the home is worth. I can give you some suggestions if you want that on staging, or if you need repairs. I've got a list of vendors who will do a great job in terms of getting your repairs done for you, things like that. Call me on my cell phone anytime, 502-376-5483. That's 376-LIVE. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com. Click on the information, submit, and then we'll call you immediately. And then for a free, no obligation computer analysis of what your home is worth, go to wesellouisville.com. We're out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.